Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. It's Halloween weekend. You know, I wanted to get you guys like a huge show for Halloween weekend, and I couldn't decide which way to go. And I went to the Tahoe Biltmore Paranormal Convention, and I had such a great time. And I met Tana Newberry, and I did an interview with her about UFOs, and it just landed on Halloween. That's what I got. That's what I got for y'all for Halloween. So I'm sorry it's not too ghosty, but I was never interested in UFOs until I heard Tana speak. And now I'm all in. In fact, I did a reading with her, and we think I'm an alien hybrid mother, because apparently, alien hybrid mothers, don't like having children in real life, in this life. So maybe I have alien children, which wouldn't surprise me. It'd be very interesting news. They're not going to college. I can tell you that. I'm not paying for college. I don't know if they're that bright. And also I will be claiming them on my taxes this year. So, I joke, but, I have a lot coming up with Tana. She was fantastic. And I think the interview with her is, it's coming up after. It's like 40 minutes long. But she did a talk, and she actually, I'm going to read her, a little bit from her biography, but she gives, she takes people out looking for UFOs. They use these, the military type, night vision glasses, and she showed all these videos. It was just fantastic. So, folks, that's what I love about this podcast. Now I'm all in. It wasn't UFOs. Now I'm into UFOs. And reading a great book by Whitley Strieber called The Key that is so sort of on the same topic. I'm sending him an email. I'm going to try and get him on the show. My friend Big Brain Dave suggested a friend of his that owns one of the crystal skulls. I hope I'm going to be talking to Max the Crystal Skull. What else? Just too much to even, I can't even talk about it. Too exciting. But let's do some, we call this housework first. For you guys, every Halloween, which would be this weekend, the 26th, I should be on stage. Maybe when you're listening to this, I have a standing show at Flappers where I go with my friend Lamont Ferguson. We do an hour of stand up, and then we do our special Halloween tarot comedy show where we take questions from the crowd. Lamont takes the questions and I do the readings, and we make them funny. We took two of our favorite shows from last year and put together an hour CD, and you can either pay $9.99 for that CD on my website, or you can get it for free. Just send me a screenshot that you gave my, this podcast a 5-star review, and I will email you a free download. And if you don't know how to do a screenshot, ask a 2-year-old, because they are born with that knowledge now. And we'll get you that, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and all will be well in the world. Or hopefully you're coming to the show at Flappers. Now, other comedy dates, November 9th and 10th, I will be at Wise Guys in Ogden, Utah, one of my favorite clubs, returning to Ogden. November 17th, I will be in Pensacola, Florida, doing a fundraiser for autism with animal communicator Sonia King. And I should have more information on that for you. If you live in Pensacola and you need to know now, email me and let me know that it's urgent, that you have the place where you're supposed to go. Pensacola, Florida. November 23rd and 24th, Wisecrackers at the Mohegan Sun in the Poconos with, again, animal communicator Sonia King, having a good time with her, having all kinds of fun. Come out and see us. And that's all I have to do. I think. Check out the web series, Paranormal Karen. They're a minute long. They're funny. They're all jokes. I just did, I do astrological signs and all the funny places I've been to. And before, I think that's it. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Now it sounds like I'm closing up the show, but I'm not. I'm just getting started. And before we get to Tana Newberry, I found a news story I wanted to read to you guys. It's about ghost ships in Myanmar Navy finds answers. So I did the whole thing, the one whole podcast on ghost ships was really fun. So there's a lot of reading in this podcast, so please bear with me. Y'all know I can't read. Myanmar officials investigating a ghost ship found mysteriously drifting near the Yangon region this week found the answer to its fate. The large, empty, and rusty container vessel, the name of it here, Sam something PB 1600. I'm just going to call it the PB 1600. We'll think it's the peanut butter 1600. Had been discovered by fishermen off Myanmar's commercial capital. The Navy now say the freighter was being towed by a tugboat headed to a shipbreaking factory in Bangladesh. However, the crew abandoned the ship after being caught up in a bad storm. Authorities and Navy personnel have boarded the peanut butter 1600 on Thursday to search for clues after it ran aground on the beach. Police and observers were baffled at how such a large ship with no sailors or no goods aboard ended up there. Okay, hang on, there's more. And I have another ghost ship story for you. All right. The vessel was built in 2001, is more than 177 meters long, according to the Marine Traffic website, which logs the movement of the ships around the world. The ship's location was last recorded off the coast of Taiwan in 2009, and this was the first reported instance of abandoned ship appearing in these waters, according to the AFP news agency. On Saturday, they're going to make me say this, Myanmar's Navy said it suspected the ship had been towed by another ship after two cables were found at its head. They later found a tugboat called the Independence, about 80 kilometers or 50 miles off the coast. After questioning the 13 Indonesian crew members on board, they learned that the tugboat had been towing the vessel since August 13th and intended to take it to a factory in Bangladesh that would dismantle and salvage the ship. However, some of the cables attached to the boat broke in the bad water and they decided to abandon the ship. Authorities are investigating further. The owner of the tugboat thought it was to be from Malaysia. News sites reports. Bangladesh has a large shipbreaking industry with hundreds of old commercial vessels dismantled each year. But the business is controversial, with critics saying the work is poorly regulated and laborers. Okay, so we didn't want that about that. But that is one ghost ship story. Now, here's another one. Skeletons found on ghost ship washed up in Japan. Japanese authorities are trying to identify 8 people whose badly decomposed remains were found on a wooden boat that washed up on a beach. The discovery took place in northern Attica. It says Akita. It comes days after a group of men claiming to be North Korean fishermen washed on shore in the same area. Crewless boats or vessels with bodies on board, known as ghost ships, and thought to be North Korean fishing boats, regularly wash up in Japan. They have usually been found in the western coast, which faces North Korea. The North Korea ghost ships washing up on Japan. In the latest incident, Japanese broadcaster NHK said the boat, measuring about 23 feet or 7 meters, was found on the beach near Oga City on Sunday. The vessel was missing a rotor blade and navigational devices. On Monday, officials found the remains of 8 people, some reduced to bones, while inspecting the boat. Kaido news agencies reported that Coast Guard suspect the boat and its occupants had come from North Korea. Oh, that's sad. The discovery is the latest in a string of similar incidents. On Friday, a wooden boat carrying 8 men, alive and in reasonably good health, washed up at a Japanese city. The men said they were North Koreans fishing for. The man said they were Boy, this is written crazy. The men said they were North Koreans fishing for squid who had ended up drifting into Japanese waters and when their boat experienced difficulties. Rutgers News Agency reported that 2 bodies were also found over the weekend at Sado Island with a pack of North Korean cigarettes and other belongings with North Korean lettering. Japan regularly sees North Korean fishing boats straying into its territory, and its Coast Guard has occasionally had to rescue the fishermen. The BBC's Cecilia Hatton says the appearance of ghost ships is thought to be a consequence of North Korea's attempt to satisfy hunger by demanding huge quotas of seafood. That forces fishermen to board aging, ill-equipped vessels and to venture far out to the sea with no equipment to issue a distress call if their boats run into trouble, says our correspondent. Well, that's horrible, but you know what? Wouldn't you, I guess in North Korea, they don't know that they're probably better off in Japan. What's behind the North Korean ghost ships washing up in Japan? That's kind of what we just read about. In 2017, a number of ships have washed ashore with the crew still alive. In November, okay, so this is a little bit of the same. They had a new part to this that I wanted to read. Okay. How did those on board die? When boats with corpses wash ashore, Japanese officials usually try to investigate the cause of death, but as they tend to be in an advanced state of decomposition, it's often impossible to determine that. During the winter months, with little food on board, exposure and starvation are the most likely explanations for their death. The wooden boats washed up are old and heavy and have neither powerful motor engines nor GPS navigation systems. If they ventured too far out or got blown off course, they would lose their bearings or find it hard to beat the currents even if they know which way they're going. According to the news agency APF, 2017 has seen a record number of North Korean fishermen rescued alive, with more than 40 arriving so far this year. Are they defectors or spies? It has been suggested that the sailors could be defectors trying to make it across the Sea of Japan to escape the regime, but the crews found alive have asked to be sent back to North Korea. Also, taking the route all the way to Japan is significantly furthermore and dangerous than trying to sail to South Korea. So there's some ghost ships answered coming from North Korea. So that was it. I feel I let you down on that. It was just, I really find the ghost ships fascinating. But that must be just a horrible, there's your horrible Halloween story. How about that? There you go. And now let's talk about Tana Newberry. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on Tana. Tana survived a near-death experience in 2002. In that moment, she realized the ability to channel, saving her life and ultimately changing it forever. Soon after, Tana became passionate about sharing her psychic gifts. Much of her work takes place in Benicia, California, which is close to the Bay Area. She offers psychic ET experience readings, tarot readings, and all kinds of stuff. You can reach her at tananewberry.com. Her extraterrestrial contact, this is very important because she gave me an ET reading, which I have never had before, and I found it fascinating. And she has me now looking, every time I take courage out, I'm looking to the sky because she said in 4 months, if I really started to make this communication, I would see an extraterrestrial. And I'll tell you that in the details when I do. But I'll tell you, well, Well, let's just listen to her. Her extraterrestrial contact goes back as far as her childhood, but memories and new experiences only started to surface around the time she began using her psychic abilities and had her first UFO sighting. Her ET involvement centers around the production of hybrid children, as she calls 10 years of experience, which includes conception, gestation, and retrieval. She also identifies as it's MILAB experiencer. We talk about that in the interview. Tana is involved in the ufology community, now attending and sharing her projects at conferences. That's what I saw her. She also has a ET experience oracle deck. That was what she used with me. And she said, I know you're all going to laugh, but I got to play this before we go to the thing. She said that I was, it was very funny. There's a group of aliens called Palladians, and they're beautiful, peace-loving people, and they're gorgeous, and they have great skin. And she said, you're not one of those. No, that's the joke that's going in my act. She said, I'm somewhat of those, but I'm from Orion. She said, I'm from the galaxy of Orion. Now, listen to this. I was not on board yet until I picked up the book and read how they described the people from Orion, the aliens, that I'm supposed to have the alien DNA. They said they have strong personalities. Check, that's me. The only ones with a big sense of humor. Check, that's me, I think. At least I think so. Crazy blue eyes. Check, that's me. And here's the kicker. They're vegan. They're vegan. They only eat plants. That's me. Holy cow, was that crazy, wasn't it? So I'm going to let you know, I'm also founding a ET group here in Los Angeles. Ryan Singer's going to take me to one. But let's get to the interview, and you can hear more of how fabulous Tana is. And I think this is going to be her first appearance. Welcome to the world of extraterrestrials, folks. Oh, and there's something weird. I went up to do the interview with her, and she was talking to two people. And again, I know, like I did with Dave Schrader, kamikaze interview, I go right in, I just clip the microphone on her, not even asking permission. So there's going to be a second part to the interview. I think I talk about that on the first part. But please enjoy Tana Newberry. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking to Tana Newberry, and I don't even know where to start. And I literally ran up to some people she was talking to and threw the microphone on her. So the second little part of this interview might sound a little choppy, but you're going to know why I did it. You just did the greatest. It was only 30 minutes. I could have watched you forever talking about UFOs. And where do I even start? Tell me, give everyone who you are, what you do, where they can find you.
Yeah, so let me tell you this first. So I believe after doing regressions and things like that,
and this is for UFO.
Yeah. I believe I did have ET contact spanning as far back as childhood. But the thing is I had a really normal childhood. I really did not have any connection consciously to contact or anything psychic or anything like that. I didn't. It wasn't part of my beta state consciousness, my awakening consciousness. I hadn't had that integrated. My mother had a little bit of clairaudient ability, although she didn't think of it as that. She's a very religious woman, and so she thought of it as hearing the Holy Spirit and things like that. So I believe some of it runs in the family. But in 2002, when I was 21, I had a near-death experience. And in that moment, instantly, I heard from my grandmother on the other side, and she talked me back through the tunnel and back into my body, and ever since then I could psychically hear, and I was having all these experiences. Now I could hear, I could see, I could feel, I knew things, and I had to sort it out. So for the first little while, which a lot of classes and read books, and I said, what is going on with me?
But I love near-death experience. I want one so badly.
Oh, there are other ways. You don't have to do that.
Okay.
Trust me. And actually, a lot of my work focuses on integrating consciousness. So yeah, there are other ways. You don't have to jump out of your body to do it. But yeah, it's a catalyst for some people. And the interesting thing is, right around at that time, and up until even today, I started dreaming. It started out with dreaming of UFOs like 3 or 4 times a week. I'd be in a dream state, having a dream narrative, ex-boyfriend, college teacher, homeroom, or whatever, and all of a sudden my dream would get interrupted by a UFO sighting. and I would instantly become a lucid participant in my dream, and I would go, whoa, I'm dreaming, the UFO's here and it's for me. And I used to, in the beginning, I used to kind of like hide and run because it's jarring, it's scary. I mean,
all you hear is scary stories and horror movies.
Yeah. And what we don't know, what we don't understand, what could be potentially more powerful and dangerous for us, we shut out, right? So yeah, you have to be kind of eased into it a little bit. And so most people who start having physical experiences, physical contact, you hear quite often, and because I do this work and work with contactees in the psychic
and you do
way,
for the interview, you do regressive memory work?
Yes. Right. So what I do is I psychically, now ever since I had this near-death experience and had the psychic abilities and started having my own contact experiences, which started with dreams and ended up being physical UFO sightings, then it was ET being dreams and contact and telepathic communication, and then it was physical abductions and physical run-ins, and actually run-ins also with covert military. I'm a MyLab experiencer. So it started getting really...
And you just used a whole bunch of words we have to go back to.
Sure.
So when you say abductee, though, it's not like a horror movie, or was it?
No, so that's a good question. There's so much to cover, right?
I know.
So I'll try to finish everything out. I really will. I
You're
talk
amazing.
so fast so that I'm sure I can do it.
And I'd love your card to have you on again remotely when I can call you, but right now...
You're so sweet. But yeah, so, okay, let's answer that. So abductee. I have a deck of cards called the ET Experiencer Oracle deck, and I made it because I started reading. I was doing psychic readings. I've done them over 13 years now. And I got passionate about looking at other people's contact scenarios because I could see it. I could see it. And I could hear words and phrases. When people talk about their experiences, I can finish their sentences. I see it. So I said, let me get an extra set of eyes on this from the psychic perspective, and from me having my own knowledge and research from working with multiple people, let me help you integrate some of the details that are just under the surface so that you can become more conscious and therefore have more control over what you're available for contract-wise with these ETs.
Because people have a soul contract possibly
yes,
with
I really
ETs.
do believe that. Yes. So yeah, I started doing that. And so even in my deck, I have a couple of cards. One's an abductee. And this is typically a word that is used for someone who considers that they've been taken against their will. Loosely understood, abductee is someone who maybe didn't have an all that great of a time, or felt that they didn't feel like they kind of like agreed to it, or they would have rather it not have happened. This is typically when you hear the word abductee, okay? When you hear the word contactee, it's typically someone who's associating this experience with either sort of like a mundane kind of encounter, or something that they actually feel has been very positive or very spiritual for them. So they call themselves contactees, right? And as someone who doesn't think they've had contact, but they have a varying degree of telepathic communication, UFO sightings, something like that, then they tend to use the word experiencer, which doesn't say I had contact, but I had an experience. So those are the three terms that are kind of used in the field to identify a little bit of how that person relates to their experience.
Good. Okay, perfect.
So yeah, so I have this ET Experiencer Oracle deck, and I'm a psychic development teacher too. I work with people on using their psi abilities, and ET contactees are incredibly psychic, and people with paranormal experiences. I mean, we're here at a paranormal retreat. There's ghosts, people, and all that. Very, very psychic.
A lot of energy here.
A lot of energy here. So people have these abilities, and sometimes they're not aware of it, and so they can't drive the bus unless they know they're in the bus and they're in the driver's seat.
Right.
So once you get there and you start to open your eyes and take it for a spin, then you start to be able to say, wow, I have a lot of control over this that I didn't, and I can actually obtain information that I couldn't before. And I believe obtaining more detail about experiences ultimately for the right person, because they have to be kind of wanting that and ready for that, but ultimately it gives them more power to be not only a conscious individual participating at a galactic level of awareness, right, or a multidimensional level of awareness, but they can also stop things from happening.
That's what I was going to say. So the ones that are
start the
terrifying.
good things from happening. For example, I have so many people who come to me to do learn how to contact their ETs because they have ETs that they want to talk to, just like people want to talk to their spirit guides or their mother who's passed. People have experiences, and this is very common when people see the children aboard the craft, the ET hybrid children, which I'll talk about. But people have, I mean, their heart goes out. They feel, oh my gosh, this is this is a little pure little being. And so they say, I don't want to wait to be picked up to see them again. I wish I could see them again. I get a lot of my clients say, I wish I could start this again. I wish I could make this happen. I wish I could see a UFO. I wish I could do these things.
So the Travis Walton story is where he was abducted and it was terrible and he's afraid.
Well, one thing to understand about the Travis Walton story is Travis is a really nice guy. He's really sweet.
He's great.
But unfortunately what happened was they really did Hollywood up that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And his experience is not truly actually reflected in that movie.
Okay, so usually what we see on TV are people where we're terrified. We're like, whoa, I don't want nothing to do with that.
There's a lot of movies that are out there that are about, what you have to understand is from the 60s, 70s, right around there, I believe the percentage is about 80% of people, even since that time, their ET contact all involved the hybridization program, which is conception, gestation, any removal of sperm or ovum or anything like that. And it was all for the production of making ET human hybrids. And it was very largely associated with who we think of as the little gray beings with the big heads and the big eyes, because they're very involved in that genetic work, at least what's going on in the world right now. A lot of people are consciously integrating memories of that happening. So a lot of what Hollywood is depicting is this phenomena, this aspect of the phenomena. But what it also doesn't tell you is that based on a lot of the surveys that have been done, I believe I'm correct in saying that about 80% of abductees, experiencers, all wish they could do it again. So it's really not a perfect survey or depiction saying that all of it is terrifying. Now, anything that we don't understand is a little scary.
Right.
But I was just saying this to someone at the table. One of the things that people ask me all the time, what about bad ETs? What about good ETs? And I say, okay, let me stretch your mind for just a second. If there was a lion and he was in a cage, would you want to go in there?
No.
Would you feel like if you were in there, it's a little sketch?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Is the lion evil?
No.
Is the lion unethical?
Right.
Is the lion good or bad? Right? He's a lion. He's being a lion. And lions have a whole other set of circumstances, right? So one thing you have to understand about some of these ET experiences, and I'll go out on a limb here, and I'm not trying to dismiss or downplay anybody's experience at all, but looking at the gray phenomena as someone who has had experience in the hybrid program for 13 years and has had plenty of run-ins with these ET beings, understanding them on a level of what I just explained as a metaphor, you start to understand that maybe they're not bad, maybe they're grays. You know what I mean? Maybe they're doing
their thing.
Doing as grays do.
Yeah.
And once you start to understand how your involvement plays in and what your role is in these ET agendas or phenomena, then you start to say, okay, what am I available for and not? And ultimately take back the power and control, which can allow people to either have more contact, less, or change the type of contact. The conscious integration of taking all the details and becoming a more holistically conscious human being will give you all that power, just like when you become lucid in your dreams, you can now manifest Johnny Depp, you know.
Right.
So you can drive the bus. You really can. And there's no difference with ET contact or connecting with ET beings.
And just for, when you say hybrid mom, do you have children here that are hybrid or in ET land?
Yes. So it's actually very common also, interestingly enough, for women. I'm 37, right? So my past 13, 15 years I've had ET contact. I'm childbearing age, right? It's actually kind of common that people who find themselves involved in this type of thing, especially for women, they typically don't have human children.
Oh, me. Oh my God, I could have hybrids.
People speculate that the reason why is because our nurturing sense and our motherhood intuition is not like wasted on our own children and can be utilized in the process of nurturing the hybrid children, which is something that they've realized needs to happen.
And that could be something that's happening and I'm not aware of it right now.
Sure. So, I mean, if you were someone that said, hey, I'm wondering if I have experiences, the first thing I would say is, have you ever been curious about UFOs? Have you had an insatiable curiosity? Have you watched the movies? Are you into the genre? Do you like science fiction? And all these things, guess what? Deep in the subconscious level, there are reasons you respond.
Yes to all of that. And people psychics have often said, you have an ET thing going on.
Yes.
Wow.
So this would be a really good opportunity to either have, and it's not like I'm just like, everybody gets psychic readings. It's just 2 heads are better than 1, 3 heads are better than 2.
Right.
So you get other people looking at it, and everybody throws their 2 cents in, and you get a wider picture of what happens, and then you get that validation.
Right. And so for my audience, this is what you do.
This is what I do. I give you an extra set of eyes psychically, and I look at what the experience was, and I put myself in the experience in the room, and I look around with you, and I look for details, I look for things that I recognize, I look for agendas that I recognize, behaviors I recognize, beings I recognize, all these things, because I have tapped in to so many people's experiences, and I'm knowledgeable on the research, and I've had my own experiences, and I can telepathically connect to ET guides. I get a real good kind of lay of the land there of what's happening.
You can oversee the whole thing.
Yeah.
So somebody like me that says, I don't remember any experience, I don't know, could I still get a reading from you and you might find something I have missed?
Totally.
Awesome.
Totally. Yes, absolutely.
And tell everybody where they can contact you and get this reading.
Sure. So my website is tananewberry.com. It's TANANEWBERRY.com. Okay. And you'll see my ET work, my regular old reading work. You'll see I'm very passionate about psychic development and reading what I call starseed readings. And I also have reports that I do, which is a way, if you don't want to connect with me personally, if that's uncomfortable for you, you can send me your question. I'll channel the guides. I'll channel ETs, and I will actually write you up 3 to 5 pages, depending on the information that comes through, as an answer to your question, and literally just give it all to you without you having to necessarily come out and have the conversation with me.
Okay, and I just want to get that in case noise starts, because I feel like I'm working against the clock.
Oh, that's okay. And then also another great thing, my friend Misha Johnston, who is with me today, her website is starseedawakening.org. She and people like her do hypnotherapy regression. Now, I've studied it. I don't conduct the sessions yet because my primary skill that has been very useful for people is the psychic part of it. Right. To actually conversationally, psychically look at it like a detective, whereas she looks at it from a hypnotherapy point of view, brings you under, takes you to a level where you can access a deeper consciousness. So instead of me doing it for you and you coming along with me, she's kind of having you go through your journey.
Right.
So it's just 2 different ways of getting below the surface of your beta state and get you into that alpha brainwave state, the theta brainwave state, where you've collected all of this data that you haven't integrated as important into your brain that you're thinking about on a day-to-day basis. There's so much more information there.
I know. I mean, I think I could talk to you for hours, but how many people do you think are actual had experiences? Like, would you say like 50% of the public or 80% and don't know?
Oh gosh, I wish I knew the exact. This is something I usually know. I really, really geek out on like percentages and things, so I should know this. But
like if my listeners, they've turned into paranormal
Karen. To get close. There's something like, what is it, like 80, there's that 80% again. 80% of people believe in angels, right? Have you heard that? Especially in the U.S. We're starting to get people who not only say, I believe that this could be in existence, I have a belief that we're not alone in the universe, but when you start talking about how many people have actually had experiences, they've had UFO sightings, they have something in the realm of interaction with the phenomenon, we're starting to get up there towards those numbers a little bit. And it seems that things are either increasing, but maybe they're not.
Maybe we're just more aware.
Maybe we are evolving and our compartmentalization of our consciousness is dissolving, and we're starting to become more aware of more subtle influences and realities, and we're literally overlapping with the reality in which they exist and we exist together, and therefore more contact happens. That's why sometimes you could have somebody who's an experiencer or contactee look over and see a UFO, and the guy next to him, he just misses it. He misses it. And it's so interesting how whoever's ready to see it or whoever's supposed to see it will, and whoever's not is not. But it doesn't mean you won't ever. It just means that there is some conditioning to assist you, just like the near-death experience helps you in some ways. There is some conditioning that has to happen, which is why meditation and regular practice of psychic development and just opening up your mind by looking at the sky for hours on end. You know, all of these things start to prepare the consciousness and the biology in your own state, and ultimately will induce more understanding, experiences, and encounters.
Now, you said you were Mylar? Military?
Yeah, so this is it's kind of a deeper down the rabbit hole subject, but there's something called MyLab or MilLab, and what it stands for is just the abbreviation of military abduction. My friend Melinda Leslie, who lives in Sedona, Arizona, is one of the leading researchers on this, and then also my friend Misha Johnston, who I mentioned, is very well versed and an experiencer as well. I've had a few run-ins. It might just be because of who I hang out with. I can write these names down for you.
Yes.
But the military abductions is just what you have to understand is if even one of us had a true ET encounter or sighting, even one time, one person, only one of them was real, do we think that the government, who has proven themselves to have all sorts of covert stuff, right? Do we believe they don't care? That they don't want to do anything about it? That they don't want to try to stay on the up and up about it, aka control the situation?
Right.
Okay.
Control the information getting out.
Yes. So you have to understand that, of course, we're not going to know what they've discovered. That's part of what keeps it strong, is that it's more secret, right? But there is a military, covert military interest in the UFO and ET abduction and contactee phenomena. And so I think it's like, oh gosh, I hope I'm right about this, 3, 4, 5% of ET contactees have this whole side thing where now they're getting contacted by
Men in Black,
all sorts of different kinds of things like that are more human. And it seems to be like interrogation, surveillance, harassment, things like this. It can escalate to that.
Now, when you say that, are they humans coming from the government to ask, or are they things that look humanoid?
So there is crossover. There are things that are working, the ETs that work with the government. This is a whole other category that I'm actually not the expert in. But I do know enough about it to tell you that there is definitely ETs present plenty of times when covert military is present, and vice versa. Sometimes there's even handoffs. Someone will have an ET contact, and then all of a sudden they'll feel like they're getting handed off to covert military, or vice versa. And then there's a lot of people that have isolated incidents, but they still do interact with both. And then they have some that just has one or the other. So it's whatever they need, really, to figure out what they need to figure out in the moment they want to figure it out.
So do you think the military knows and is in on it, or the military knows and is curious?
They're figuring it out.
They're figuring it out.
They're doing what military does. They're trying to stay in control of it.
Right.
And this is a subject that is so vast.
I know.
The thing to know about, really is vast, and it's a whole other energy to the more consciousness state, But the thing to know about it is that if this is a subject that interests you, there is a lot of detail and experiencer accounts that are starting to really weigh in and consciously integrate memories of these type of situations, and it's very fascinating.
Okay. And now let's just jump quick, because I know I'm going to run out of time, damn it. So you take people out on tours to see UFOs with Google, and I have
the goggles.
All these questions with the goggles, so the night vision goggles. So the first one is, you say the best time to see a UFO is at sunset.
Yes, right at sunset. Now, what you have to understand is we're in the dark because of how the sun is comparing to our location on the Earth, right? Mm-hmm. So we're in the dark. But things flying high in the atmosphere, they're still bouncing sunlight, because the sun's over here, we're in the dark, right? But high up, it's still bouncing the sunlight, like a little triangle, if you were to draw a triangle. So right at sunset, the first 2 hours after it gets dark, you're still getting assists from the sun. So objects flying high in the sky are bouncing sunlight.
Oh.
And because the goggles, the night vision goggles, they're military grade, they're Gen 3s that we use, they're magnifying the light 50,000 times. And so with the assist from the sun and the magnification, you will see things moving around that aren't even necessarily illuminating themselves, but now you're seeing it because of this time of day.
Fascinating. Okay, and those are very, very expensive. You were saying like $4,000 each or
so
something?
Not a lot of people do these tours because of the cost of the goggles. The goggles are about $4,500 a piece. Wow. I own 4.
Wow.
And my friend Misha owns 3. And so, my friend
Melinda.
House. I know. Car, Ferrari. No. My friend Melinda, I think she owns like 6 or 7 or 8 even, because she's been doing it for a really long time. And so we take these little babies out on tours and we put them in people's hands and they look up in the sky, and I do them in the Bay Area. My friend Misha does them in Vegas.
Is that where your Bay Area?
Yeah, I'm around here, so I live in Benicia.
Oh, okay.
So,
and if people want to see the tours, they'd come to see you there.
Yeah, they'd come to see me there. We actually go in Benicia, and Misha's starting to do this in Vegas too. I think she found one. But we go to a big labyrinth. Have you ever been in a labyrinth? It's a big maze. It's a meditative walk that you do. It's a whole other thing. It's a metaphor for life and how you approach, going through the journey of this long walk is a metaphor for how you approach your life. So anyways, it's a very spiritual vibration that these labyrinths hold. It's a big, huge thing. And we sit in the middle of it. And we have this open sky, this open horizon, and we just watch from horizon to horizon, a huge sky full of stuff. And anywhere you go, you're going to see stuff. Certain places are hot spots, but really, the night vision goggles gives you a sight that you wouldn't have otherwise, and so it's fascinating.
Okay, so also you were talking about the laser lights that you guys use to sort of signal them.
Yeah, so we have high-powered lasers, and they go, 5 miles? I can't remember exactly, but they go really far, and they're real acute laser beams, right? So we use these and we point them out. They have a couple usefulnesses. So number one, if someone is spotting something, we put a laser in their hand, they point it out to everybody else. But the other thing we do is we actually signal the crafts with them. We'll go blink, 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 or something to show that something intelligent is, it's not
trying to communicate.
It's not atmospheric, whatever, right?
It's not the Luxor light.
It's more like a little SOS or like a little Morse code or something. We make it seem intelligent by how we're blinking it. And what we get most often is something that we call a power-up.
Which I saw in the video.
Right. So it's like a moving star that goes by, and all of a sudden it gets really, really bright, and it flares up, and then it slowly goes down.
And can you see this without the night vision, or you have to have the night vision?
Power-ups you can usually see if you're looking in that direction.
Wow.
You can usually see the power-ups with the naked eye, but you have to have already known the area of the sky to look at. So with the goggles, it helps because you're starting to spot these things. You'll see 30, 40 of them in a night, and then let's say 5 or 6 of them power up for you a couple of times. And then, they also do things like formations and shooting out and all that. But yeah, the lasers help us communicate. And there really is, based on people who do this work, go out and do night vision tours, there really does seem to be a direct correlation with communicating with laser lights and responsiveness from the crafts.
Okay, so, and I know I'm putting everything, folks, I'm doing everything in a quick sort of a nutshell, but this is fascinating that you have to go to her site and see what's going on. So not only that, once you've opened you're kind of open the communication with them.
Yes.
Then you can start to see a lot of them, right?
Yes. So once you see your first one, it kind of goes downhill from there. So it gets really easy to see more and more and more. Partly because once you see one, you're staring at the sky from here on out for the rest of your life.
Like, I got to see another.
You're aware that they're there, and you're always conscious that you could see one. So you're literally looking at the sky way more than you used to.
Did you ever hear that cell phones were created so we won't look up and see the
I know, right?
Because everybody's heads down.
It doesn't work for me. I have a hard time driving.
Yeah.
Because
you're looking up, I'm looking down.
Keep your eyes on the road. I'm like, sorry, I saw just checking it out.
That would be the accident. I hit you up looking down, you're looking up.
No, that's why I have to go night watch so that I can get out of my system.
Right.
But So it's true. You can see them anytime that you look up, and then also after having your first experience, it's also kind of known in ufology in the industry that a lot of people experience having memories all of a sudden start to be unlocked. Like they're getting memories and floods about images, and they start to have dreams, and they start to remember things that are like from their childhood, and it's almost like it turns a key.
I wonder if it's good, because I actually don't remember a lot of my childhood, and I'm a little bit okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine, but
Maybe
there
it's
might be
something else.
some real cool information there,
Yeah.
you know. And if it's not, if you feel guided, you'll always feel guided. There'll always be sort of like a timing that
And
you'll
set
feel
that
right
intention. I knew someone
Yeah.
that said she had got a big crystal singing bowl, and she sat there going, "I want to contact the UFO. I want to contact the UFO." And like a month later, she saw one.
with. Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's
okay.
more about the inner process, believe it or not, than it is the
Inner
outer.
opening
the specific routine or the protocol or the process or the invocation or these things don't actually matter as much as you opening up your consciousness and integrating the different levels of compartmentalization and taking your awareness to a different level. That's actually more important. And that's why people who seem ready will see them, and people who aren't will seemingly miss it, fly right by.
Oh, I was looking down at that time,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Yeah, I didn't get it.
exactly.
Okay. All right, last question, because it's lunch, and I know we both got to eat. Or maybe last two questions. Well, I was going to say Area 51, but that's a 15-minute talk, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But you know who can tell you more about that is my friend Misha Johnson, because
Okay,
she's
we're
in Las Vegas, Nevada. So do talk to her
Interview
about
her.
that, because she goes out and has done Area 51 things and tours and is very knowledgeable about that. It's there. You can see the hangars.
And the
It's
other
there.
one was, I so want to see the Matrix. Like it's the energy, the way. And last question, this is out of nowhere. Before folks, you will hear the second half of this, which was just you speaking to someone that asked a question.
Yeah.
And I like hooked the microphone on, like, wait,
Yeah.
I need this information. You said they said something about the end of the world.
Yeah, so there are a number
You
of
just
different.
said it like, it's
End of the world. Well, and partly I say that because sometimes the agenda and the phenomena showing the end of the world is not because it's going to end. They're trying to assist us from it coming
Okay,
to
they're
a
helping
demise.
us.
So
Good,
maybe that's why I
good.
said it so casually.
But I like that better,
it's
yeah.
Sometimes I mention some of these things so casually because I've really broken down and integrated a lot.
Yeah,
and so for
and-
me, it's kind of like, no big deal. I have hybrid children. People are like, wait, what?
Right.
So
And it's like as you get enough of this, you learn what will be, will be. We hope for the best.
Yes. I mean, there really is a plan here. I really, really believe that. But yes, so there are people who, in their ET contact, have varying degrees of experiences. Now, you have some people who see technology, propulsion systems, and they fly crafts, and they do all these type of technological kind of things in their contact. And then you have some people who are all about save the planet, save the earth, which might cross over into the what do you think is happening at the end of the world? How are you going to change this or prepare for this, or we're showing you this for a reason type of thing.
See, I'm too controlling. I would want to drive the craft.
Yeah, you want to drive the crowd. Come on, bring me in there. Well, and sometimes it depends also on your telekinesis abilities. So all of that. Some people, this is one of my favorite things. I actually have a card. I'll show it to you in my deck that is based on an experience I had aboard a craft in a UFO classroom. So I was actually being taught how to keep my level of frequency, my atoms vibrating just as such that would keep me solid enough to sit on the ground and not fall through the ground of the spaceship. And I had to control almost like my buoyancy in my frequency and mass.
It's like swimming in atoms.
Yes, and it was like this big round room, and there were ETs present walking around, and there were a bunch of humans learning how to acclimate and control what vibrational frequency they were at. Therefore, where on the location spectrum they became solid enough to sit or be present in that dimensional environment.
Which, and just a weird shoot off, but would that be like maybe learning to levitate in this dimension?
Yes, and it's also very closely tied to telekinesis as well. So it's all the same thing. Yeah.
And for my listeners, telekinesis is
moving things with your mind.
Moving things with your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all basically a manipulation of our ability to assimilate on that frequency. You know what's funny? No, don't mean to give a spoiler alert, but I just got off a Bahama cruise, and I saw on the ship the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? One of the Marvel movies.
Right.
And there's a character in that movie that is not solid because she's shifting dimensions all the time. And so instead of being solid in one dimension, she's like halfway solid in one and halfway solid in the other. So this is how they're teaching us in these UFO classrooms to become almost multidimensional, so that
now
we
I gotta
can
take the class.
so we can control where we assimilate and therefore become able to visit. So ET contactees get the jolt of learning because they're assisting us and augmenting us to do that. But at some point, a lot of contactees and ETs and they'll come together, and these types of things, these types of technologies and abilities are taught right aboard the craft.
Wow.
And then there's the hybrid program and other agendas and such.
Okay. I don't even know. Okay.
It's a whole subject.
Thing.
Just like ghosts and paranormal is one thing.
God. Now you got me
ufology is a
interested.
whole other ball of wax.
I have not been in ufology. You just did it for me. Folks, get ready for way more episodes. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can get a reading, where they can do a tour, whatever happens.
Sure, great. So the Night Watch tours in the Bay Area and in Vegas, you can find at UFOnightwatch.com. You can find those there. We're sister companies, so you'll see all the information. You can book there. TanaNewberry.com will get you to my work, my psychic development classes, all my different kinds of starseed or ET readings. It'll also get you to the deck. If you want to have a deck, you can purchase one there. They're amazing. Got pictures of it. It's real specific. It's meant for ET contactees. You're not going to get vague cards. These are specific to things that happen during your ET contact.
Right.
So they're really helpful in giving you hard facts. And then what else do we have here? Starseed Awakening is Misha Johnston in Vegas for her work, her regressions and such.
And I'll get a hold of her too.
Yes,
We'll do her.
and then Misha Johnston and I and another gal in the Bay Area named Geraldine Orozco, who's also another hybrid mother. She works with matrix realities, matrix stuff. She works with breaking you out of the matrix and seeing the different, actual construct of this reality and how it's very structured for a reason. She works with that, and you can get her and Misha and I at kcorradio.com because of our show named after Misha's company, Starseed Awakening. So you can find all of that, and that's where we're at.
And I think I see a whole new set of material that I'm a hybrid mom, which is what
I highly recommend. I
really believe it, but I think sometimes people are always like, other comics are like, how do you bring up these topics that are totally unbelievable and everybody just believes you? And I'm like, because I believe them all.
Well, you know what we'll do? We'll do a radio show. I'll read you, and I'll read a bunch of your guests.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh my
So we'll
God.
start out with you so people can see what kind of questions to ask and what comes up.
Yeah.
And we'll look at this. I'd love to look at this on your show. We'll spend some time on it. And then if you have callers or people who want to write in, or you get some names beforehand.
Right,
whatever.
because I have 2 or 3 people that I think would be perfect for it. I have some super fans, Dakota.
Yep. I'll read it.
And we'll do
Absolutely.
it. Oh, thank you so much, Sam.
That'll be fun.
Wow, great meeting you. And
meeting you.
Thanks again. And now you'll hear the tail end of the weird part of the interview.
That don't involve the details of the contact that you get from integrating the knowledge of your contact. You start to really see the fabric of reality and existence and universe and multidimensional perspectives. And it's what one of my favorite things that has happened as a byproduct of popping in and out of the dimensions, because they're bringing you there, right? So I truly do believe, even for a person who's a little hesitant to look deeper, I really, really, really encourage people to take a look at that. Is that a legitimate guidance, or is it just a little bit of fear holding you back? And if it's just the fear and you actually do feel a pull to dig deeper, you're just scared, I would say go to someone who can help you with that part, but then also help you dig deeper, because there's so much there ready to be integrated, and then you become a completely different conscious individual. You know what I mean? Knowing what you know. It would be like you had a college degree and you don't remember it. You know? And
about my dreams and our experience with the UFOs.
Yeah.
So this is my husband.
Hi, husband. Hi, Michael. Nice to meet you.
So it's funny that you say that, our experience together.
We're talking about when 2 people experience the same thing.
That we were destined through that and selected for that.
Yes.
Because when we met, we've only known each other for 5 years. But the first week that we met, it was like reconnecting with.
Oh yeah.
It was weird, eerie weird,
We talked about that like the next day after we met.
Yeah. And then so to experience the whole UFO thing with someone else, when I had it, and he's had it too.
And I've had several.
He's had it too.
Take a look at this book, Alien Love Bite. And it's about your ET contracts or ET star families that you work with. Like, for example, I'm a hybrid mother. So most of my ET contact, like 80% of other contactees, all centers around the production in one way or another of ET human hybrids. It's been happening to 80% of contactees since the 60s. It's huge. It's the biggest thing that happens. There are a lot of other agendas like, showing you the end of the world or humanitarian efforts, or there's so many other agendas, but the biggest one is by far, hands down, hybridization program. So when you look at the implications of what your business is at hand, you can see how other people could easily share that mission contract or agreement with you, like in a partner or team way, or in a, like, you don't always just do things by yourself. I mean, you live a life. You do things with people all the time, right? And if you're doing most with him, why not, So you get almost partnered up. And I've actually, in that, I haven't read the book. I haven't got my hands on it. I think it's out of print. But my girlfriends have told me a bunch about this book. And so they say that sometimes people have actually had circumstances where they believe the ETs took the man or took the woman or whoever, introduced them on the craft, and almost augmented their connection. And then when they met, it was like it activated, and then they were able to fulfill whatever contract.
Wow.
So, and it could be hybrid related. Quite often it is because of the currency of that, but not always, but closely connected. Now, do you guys have kids?
No.
Are you gonna ever have kids?
I have
You're out of
two with
production.
someone else, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you have ET contact, and they have all sorts of ways that we don't to create connections. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You are
for your
very
time.
welcome. Yeah.
People are always asking me, Karen, you are so knowledgeable about tarot, ghosts, and otherworldly spirits. How do you stay so organized and grounded here on Earth? And I have to tell them my secret weapon. It's black tourmaline. And Nita over at nitaapple.com. After years of complaining about all the text messages and emails back and forth, trying to schedule tarot readings and chasing after payments, Nita installed Acuity Scheduler on my website, and now I just get a little ding on my phone, and that tells me someone has made an appointment and the money is already in my account. I love that little ding, except every time it goes off, Courage runs to his food bowl. 5 minutes with Nita can save you 5 hours of bumbling around and trying to do things yourself. So if you spend 10 minutes with her, that'll save you like 72 hours or something like that. I don't know, I'm not good with math, but you know who is? Nita. That's who I would ask. Want to end all the emails back and forth and get paid up front when clients schedule time with you? Then hop on over to nitaapple.com/services and let Nita get you set up with a simple system that will make your life so much easier. Use coupon code BOO4U and get 20% off any products or services. She's got a lot of services and products that can save you time and money. That's BOO4U, all lowercase, BOO, the number 4, the letter U, and get 20% off. That's Nita Apple at nitaapple.com/services. nitaapple.com/services, and make your life easier today.